Thank you. So while my colleague Alana just switches to other presentations, I'd like to then welcome the team from EduTouch, who are a group focused on reducing cost in operations by improving people performance from the front line upwards. They provide expert collaboration and advice through needs analysis and first principles solution determination. So if you could please put your hands together, and Rob, over to you.
Thank you, and thank you for this opportunity, and for those that put this together, Harmony and Minerals Council, so forth. Getting employees to perform optimally has to be one of management's greatest challenges in everyday life. And so that's what we focus on, is getting employees to perform optimally. When employees perform optimally, that's when industries thrive and grow. So we're about helping industries to become economically stronger, more efficient, viable, productive, and safe. In turning companies around, one of your biggest challenges is to get employees to perform optimally. Out of all the interventions that you can apply in turning companies around, getting employees to perform optimally is the challenge. So in the times that I've turned companies around, I've identified the critical areas that make it difficult for management to get employees to perform optimally. And in the process of that, we looked at how we can develop technology to bridge that gap, to make it more simple to get employees to perform. And over the years, we've developed technology, some of which we've demonstrated. I think the panel saw it yesterday. There's lots of elements in there that help employees to become better performers and optimal performers. And there's a huge difference between an optimal performer and the guy that's just doing the job. So we focus on getting optimal performance. So my presentation today, this is my agenda. I want to take you through a case study that demonstrates how we converted 20,000 employees distributed across 4,500 sites, and how we got these employees to turn around from substandard workmanship to bad attitudes that was costing the company a fortune. And as I said earlier on, if you can get employees to perform optimally, that's when the companies grow and thrive. So in the process of getting these guys, I'll take you through the case study that shows you exactly how we achieved that. The second thing I want to talk to you about is how we actually get supervisors to become coaches overnight. Yes, actually, that's what we do. And supervisors are key element, absolutely essential in getting sustainability and getting the performance levels of employees up to standard, up to scratch. The next thing I want to talk to you about is how technology enables supervisors to, in fact, behavior correct in a conflict-free way. And how we could get management to track and manage 20,000 employees distributed across 4,500 sites, track and manage their knowledge growth. And then I want to move off this case study and just talk to you about the barriers that actually prevent companies from getting their employees to perform optimally, and then how to convert your training department into a value-add economic driver of the business. So the case study is about a cleaning company in South Africa, one of the largest, had 20,000 people distributed across 4,500 sites. As I said, the workmanship was bad, the attitudes were bad, and the company was on a nosedive. Operating costs were way above budgets. Margins were shrinking. Management was running around like chickens with a head cut off, trying to solve and keep clients happy. And you might ask, what's the relevance between a cleaning company and an industry, mining industry? And we've got lots of experience in mining industry, been with them for 15, 18 years. So I'd like to show you how the relevance of this case study actually applies. So moving on to the solutions. So you can imagine, how do you take 20,000 people who are untrained, not productive, unmotivated? So how do you take 20,000 people and convert them at an affordable cost? Because this company, obviously, cost reduction is critical. So how do you convert this workforce into a productive, viable, operating workforce? And the solution that we looked at is taking training to the workplace. And how we did that is, how do you get illiterate people to learn and be tested in the workplace? How do you take training to the workplace? So the solution that we came up with was this device that you see in front of you. It's a touchscreen device. So when the employee touched the screen, all that happened was they were asked to choose their language of choice. And in the process, they would just touch any one of those buttons that you see, which would be isiZulu, Xhosa, English, Afrikaans, whatever the language was. And that then would return, so all they had to do was touch once to hear, touch a second time to access what it was. And when they touched that language, they were asked just to put their company number in. And when they entered their company number, it automatically returned the content that they had to learn in that curricula. So they had the subheadings of the content, which could be chemical dilutions, what equipment to use, processes, procedures, safety, health, hygiene, etc. And when you choose one of those, touched once to hear, touch a second time to access, the device would then return the exact content in microelements of what they had to learn in the language of choice. So after hearing the microelement of the learning, and we refer to microelements of learning because of concentration spans and to get people's attention. I'll talk to you about the medium that we used for the deliverable and how illiterate people could actually learn in the language of choice. And you might ask the question as well, how do you test people in the language that are illiterate? And the way you test them is they just simply touch the question and it would read the question to them. And then they had to touch the answers, the multiple choice answers, and it would read the answers to them. And then all they did was submit. So we found ways to give, the other challenges we had is we had to get content updated remotely. So in other words, the importance of this, if you're delivering content, you want to know the impact of that content is. Is it getting the results, the outcome that you need? And if not, then you can modify that content and improve it to get the outcomes that you're looking for. The second challenge, other challenge we had to get management to get real-time reports, 20,000 people, 4,500 sites. So they actually had a dashboard that see exactly what the status of learning was of every single employee. So we moved on. The medium that we chose was instructional video. Now, instructional video can be very powerful because it's got the narrative of the instructor, but you can also include 3D to enhance with visual reinforcement. So the objective with instructional video is to be able to get the message, the information transfer as fast as and effective as possible to improve understanding and retention. So you've got all the various visual support visuals supporting the narrative to get the best form of communication in the shortest space of time. We found that it was low cost. It was easy to produce because the system that we developed, all you had to do was just create the video and you incorporate it into the Galaxy 2 system, and it automatically created the menu so that the employees that received the content could access it easily and get to the content very quickly. So the menu for the end user was automatically created in the format that I've already explained. The learning experience was as if the instructor stood in front of them with strong visual reinforcement. And we found that the outcome was very powerful. And we were able to turn the workforce around quite quickly. And it was delivered in micro elements, as I've mentioned. So the importance here is the delivery is on the need to know. And the best form of learning is when an employee is not sure. So I'll explain later on. The rule is if you're not sure, don't do the task. So before you do the task, this is close to the workplace, and you simply access the content, and you can make sure that the employee is informed, properly informed, and you've got the results to prove that. So that before they start the task, you're assured that they've been equipped to the best possible way, and this is applicable in the mining industry and any other industry. We've actually had this work successfully as well, even in mechanized mining. We found that the learning time was reduced substantially compared to lecture-based training. So we confidently say that the learning time is at least half. So the case study outcomes were amazing. Now, what we found was, as we were delivering the content, every time we submitted the content from the single source point, is that when the employees received that content, they were so excited, and they would learn, and then we found that they started competing with one another to see who knew the most. And then we had this collaborative component where the learning curve just rocketed. And management were absolutely astounded to see how the transition occurred with the employees in terms of their attitude and their interest in their wanting to learn. And the collaborative component was very powerful. And it was demonstrated in the workplace, where the workmanship just went way. The employees couldn't, all they wanted to do was prove how good they are and how much they can improve on what their workmanship was. Health, hygiene, safety, processes, procedures. We could train them on anything, and they were like so keen just to get this more content, and the outcomes are just amazing. So the question is, how do supervisors become coaches overnight? So what we found was, in the process of sending the content out, the supervisors were actually learning with the employees, with their trainees, with their team. And that collaborative component, so we found that their knowledge just suddenly went up very quickly. And the supervisors then gained confidence, and they suddenly started coaching. And that was another added plus for the employees, for the outcome of this whole exercise. So implementation was fast and effective. We got to 20,000 employees simultaneously with the push of a button. And we could get this change throughout 20,000 people throughout the country. It's like so if you've got 600 people in Stokes that are really battling and you want them to suddenly change and improve, well, that's the way you can get to them. And the delivery mediums can be smartphone, tablets, or whatever. So the implementation is fast and effective. We found that the workspace standards productivity improvements became evident shortly after the training commenced. It was tangibly evident. So management could control the learning of every single employee remotely. They had a dashboard, they were getting real-time information, and then they could manage the learning of every single employee real-time. And then a very interesting thing came out of behavior correction. So what we found was when there was a bad report or a negative report from a client as to bad workmanship or an issue, management could actually go back and see when it was done, and did the employee actually do the test? Did they? The rule was, do not start until you're sure. And if they hadn't started until they were sure, then it was an easy way to start getting behavior correction and talking to the employees about the importance. And that's how we found that behavior correction started becoming a very, very real, tangible thing. And it started improving the work ethic. And we found that it actually was a drive of better work culture. The exciting part about this was we managed to turn the company around in 6 months versus the 3 years that was quoted by the larger consulting. Now I want to I just want to move off the case study. And I want to talk to you about the type of typical barriers that we overcome using the technology that was demonstrated yesterday, together with this type of technology. So current resources, we find that current resources are overloaded to the degree that there is no or limited capacity. Mining houses struggle to find people to in fact implement and start trying to introduce these new initiatives. How do you introduce a new initiative when you're in this position? There's a general lack of skills and expertise, digitization, and just general lack of skills and expertise when it comes to getting employees to perform. The cost to train and develop employees is high, slow, and costly using current methods. With the methods that we refer to here, it is much faster and much more effective. And then what we find is experienced and trained staff who have the skills and expertise are in such demand that they're mostly unavailable. So implementation becomes a very serious problem. And we've developed this solution to overcome the problems that are associated to the lack of skills and expertise, and to get this transition happening. To get value add from the implementation is absolutely critical, because you can't overburden a company with, I'm going to have to rush, I've got 1 minute left. So those are the typical barriers that we can overcome with the technology. Now, we recommend that training companies in the mines should become an economic driver of the business. And it's not a big deal, as I explained to you. All they need to know is how to create their own content in instructional video, and then move into finding out how important optimization in the role, what people need to do in the role, and get optimization in the role, every task in the role. Trainers can do that, SMEs can do that. And they can create digital content. It's not difficult. Training content can be focused on improving performance and working safe. They can be flexible and deliver turnaround much faster. And that flexibility is absolutely critical for both remedial training and performance improvement. You can own your own content, it's your IP, and you need that flexibility to do that. And to create your own instructional videos costs much more and costs much less compared to outsourcing. Our conclusion is that reimagined training can turn industries around to become economically stronger, more economic, safer, and productive. And I hope that this industry take this opportunity to become optimal performers. And I thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Rob. From our judges, any questions? Yeah.
Sorry, it's what? No, it's narrated. Yes. Yeah. No, it is all icon driven. It's totally touch screen, narrated, and the video is instructional video. Yeah, we'll demonstrate it to you. The whole thing is very easy to use for illiterate people. Yeah, in the cases where they're very small sites, we rotated these devices. In the larger sites, we had 2 or 3, depending on the number of employees. So we'd have a ratio of, say, 20 employees per device. Yeah.
Yeah, Rob, thank you for the presentation. The case study seems like a remarkable one. But I was just wondering if you don't have any experience that you can share where you provided similar training, but to a much more high-risk industry. Because we have to appreciate that the occupational hazards and risks of a cleaning company are way different from those of a mining company.
I'm glad you asked that question. Many people underestimate the cleaning industry. When it comes to cleaning clinics, hospitals, surgical wards, there is absolutely zero chance. There's zero chance. If they make a mistake in a surgical ward, we die. But the complexities in terms of what they have to do to make sure that they get their process and procedures right is complex. You need to know what chemicals to use, what dilutions to use, which type of equipment, how it's done, the process, procedures. It's not much different. That's why I said there's a parallel between mining industries. As a matter of fact, the precision in cleaning is more precise. There is no room for error. So if you want to talk about zero harm for safety, this is the way to do it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Robert. Any other questions also from anyone other than the judges? Mushtaq still? Yeah, so I'm going to come to that. Great. So I'm just also to Mushtaq's question regarding BBB status.
At this stage, we are not triple Bs. Our status is level 4. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.